You're watching the Yearbook channel with Lasana Lausha.
Bit of music. That sounds good for you guys. Before we get into that, my name is Sana Groome. I am the advisor at Bacchanal High School. So, what school are some of you guys from? I'm from Florida. Where y'all from? Oregon? That's on the other side of the country. That's really far. What about you? Okay, Minneapolis in the house. Anybody else wants to share where they're from? That's in Missouri. Okay. Okay, welcome. California. And I've been having a lot of fun doing the yearbook because I like the essence of what the yearbook is. And so let's see what we have today. Welcome, welcome. Any of you ever heard that word before? Bacchanal? You've ever heard that word before? Bacchanal? No? Well, I can tell you one thing. Every single school has a lot of bacchanal. Every single school. But for me, Bacchanal is not just chaos. Bacchanal is energy. Bacchanal is story. Bacchanal is culture. Bacchanal is expression. And those are all the things that we are putting in the yearbook. Because I can tell you something, it may be a little bit uncomfortable, but don't get heated because you're not the birthday candle, okay? You're the birthday and the birthday cake. Most yearbooks aren't inclusive. They're actually selective. And selectivity is a form of bias. Do we agree? And it's not because you're bad people you're having this bias. Sometimes it's just because we haven't been trained to question what we've been always doing. So these things that I have here is some of the bacchanal that happens at my school. I try to ensure that we cover everything. So we have Fall Fest, we had a coffee truck on campus, we go to community events like the carnival that is downtown. I think this was a meeting for Career Source. So a lot of things that happen are part of the bacchanal. Yeah? So how do we translate that into yearbooking? Oh, don't skip, right. As we said before, it's energy. All those pep rallies, the homecoming events, all the fun things that happen on campus. It's also expression, the hallway moments, the real student voices. And our role with these, when it's energy, is to capture the joy that is in our school. When it comes to expression, our role is to capture the truth responsibly. It's also culture and identity. We have Caribbean students, African American culture, Hispanic heritage, and niche groups. And as yearbook, our role here would be to capture representation that matters. And lastly, it's community, the vibe of the school. What kind of school are we? Are we really using our yearbook to capture the feeling, not just the events? Because a yearbook without Bacchanal is just a catalog of names, faces, and events. But if we use our Bacchanal lens, we get to go deeper, we get to focus more, and we really get to document our school truthfully. Inclusive yearbooking means capturing the full Bacchanal. And let's all say this together. If it happened on campus, it deserves the possibility of coverage. One more time. If it happened on campus, it deserves the possibility of coverage. The problems we have is that when we omit certain things, it actually is a form of misinformation. So we have a lot of misinformation called the Bacchanal Toolkit, because when we are looking at what we have to cover, could you load? If you would have downloaded the app and gone to our session, I think I have 3 documents there. The one that says the Bacchanal Toolkit, documenting the stories we usually miss. Documenting the stories we usually miss. What we can do is break it up into 3 sections: seen, heard, and felt. So when we look at who is seen, don't we have a bit of a bias when it comes to our athletes? We do, especially football. Oh, that is a pet peeve of mine. Footballers always all over the yearbook. And then less than 1/3 of the team actually buys the yearbook. Yeah? So we overcover athletes. We overcover the popular people. We overcover the people we think are attractive. So how do we fix that? In our Bacchanal Toolkit, the first page, we have the stories that we erase. Let me see if it loaded on the other side. You would be able to download this and edit it as you like. Print should be available to you. But while that is loading up, come on, oh, technology. Anyway, the stories we erase, we have 2 columns. On one side, we have who is consistently shown, and on the other side, who is missing or underrepresented. And then in the box below, why. So think back to your last yearbook, or maybe your last 2 yearbooks. Who do you always have showing up every single yearbook? And then think about the students or the groups or the clubs or the stories that may have been missing entirely or underrepresented. Pass this around while this is, I think I should have another copy. So this is something that you can take with you and download it off the site. When you finish, you pass it back so you can see. Right, so we are looking at who is seen. Let's look at these 2 stories, possible headers. Are we only showing the athletes and high visibility students? Where are the quiet students, the artists, the ones who don't traditionally get coverage? Our last yearbook, golf was a sport that nobody really captured, apart from the pictures the coach may take. And we know they take those with their phone, they come in pixelated, and then when we load them onto the book, nobody can see them. Yes? So golf, it was imperative to have them in the yearbook. So you find a way to get out there and get those pictures. Another page that we have here was a divider page for last year, and it kind of captured everything, all the bacchanal that happened at school. This was at a football game. You ever realize when you send students out to the football games, they only take the footballers. Nobody captures cheer. Nobody captures the band, even at the halftime. Nobody captures color guard. Nobody captures what's happening in the stands. It's just the players. But the game has a lot of bacchanal going on in it. So why are we only selectively choosing just the footballers? There are a lot of other things that are important to our yearbook that will make our yearbook more inclusive if we only put that bacchanal lens on and just for a few moments we're away from the football field, because we're going to get football pictures anyway. We're going to get them somewhere. We're going to definitely get them. But the things that happen around the game, a lot of times it's not captured. And is that really reflecting our whole school? No, it's not. Because what happens when football season is over and you have no more football picture city? What's going to be a story then? Who's going to be about then? Yes, basketball, but then it can't just be the basketball. A lot of things happen. You have athletic trainers with basketball. Nobody talks about them. Nobody features them. Nobody interviews them. They have stories to tell too. You see, it's easy for us to do the sports, and that is what the Bacchanal lens does for us. It forces us to go deeper because now that we know we could get sports from their results, we get sports from the local newspapers, normally covers the sports. So we are able to find those stories. But what about the stories that we are missing that are a part of our school? They make up that. For that basketball team or that football team to be fully effective, we need the athletic trainer, we need the athletic director, we need the student athletic trainers, we need all of them. So why are we only focusing on the athletes? Remember, your yearbook is a census. It's not a fan club. And we tend to treat it like that a lot of times. Your yearbook is a census, not a fan club. Yes, we spoke about this a little bit. Your camera has a bias, and we have to fix that. And of course, it's a census, not a fan club. So we have two stories here. ESL student wins poetry contest, but the school paper and yearbook only recognize the English speaking winner. And the second story, Asian Association Club brings food to cultural night and no photos were taken. What are some of the problems we're seeing here? Yes, love. Okay, how else can we look at that? And you know what's interesting that you should say that? You know that in America, English was only recognized as the official language maybe a few years ago. That's wild. So it means every other language may have been more dominant, even though a lot of us speak English. Yes? So everybody deserves to be recorded. And these are stories we don't normally see. And then this can lead into sales because, oh, mom, I'm in the yearbook. I made it. I need to buy one because we don't know when you'll be featured again as an ESL winner for a poetry contest. And how can you have a cultural night for something like the Asian Association and we have no photos of the wonderful food? That's wild. So we have to think about everything that is happening. I know for some schools like mine, because we are Title One, it's difficult to get students after hours because a lot of them take the bus home. So it's hard, and a lot of work kind of falls back on me to make sure that things are done. There are sports that usually don't get coverage, like cross country, because that happens at 6:30 in the morning and students already struggle to come to school for 7:30. I'm not going to assign them that to do, but we need to cover cross country because it's part of our school. Yes? Questions so far? Everybody is clear on how we can apply Bacchanal lens to our yearbooking? And of course, our mantra for today, if it happened on campus, it deserves the possibility of coverage. One more time. If it happened on campus, it deserves the possibility of coverage. All right. So now that you have an idea of some of the people that you leave out, not meaningfully, before your pages go to print, on the second page of that Bacchanal Toolkit, we have the standard. If you run your pages through some of these questions, and of course it's editable depending on the school, but the premise remains the same. If you run your pages through the standard that asks questions like, this shows energy, not pose moments. The quotes sound like real students. Culture is visible. Multiple students are present. If your page could appear in any school yearbook across the country, you didn't go deep enough. You didn't apply your Bacchanal lens enough. if it could appear in any yearbook. Because your school in Missouri is not the same as that school in Oregon, is not the same as a school in Florida. You guys have snow. We barely have that in Florida. Well, except for last year up in Pensacola, there was a lot of snow. But that is not us, yes? So it's going to be different. So you have to make your yearbook you. It must always be you. The next area is who is heard. Are all captions, articles, or feature stories written in the same voice, or do they reflect how students actually speak culturally and honestly? This year, what I did for our yearbook, we went with the theme that said, Wekaiva got something to say. Because we know students always yapping about something. They always on TikTok and Instagram. And I said, you know what? We're going to use this and run with it. So all of those familiar slangs that they like to use, it's in the yearbook. So when they open the yearbook, it's going to be, oh, Miss, we didn't know that you know. We said, yes, I know, because nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Yes? That was quite popular. That's a page in our yearbook because they've said that for the entire summer. So what would be on all those pages would be all their summer photos. The photos we don't get to see, people who took trips, the people who took cruises, our seniors who did things over the summer. That would be them. Yes? There was one that they said, I can't remember, but I think for the last section, we said conversations over. No convos over. Mic dropped in spring. So it sounds like them. So it's not the same traditional winter, fall, spring, summer. You make every little detail counts. Because even if you have a student who may not be in the yearbook physically, they may be able to relate to that colloquialism. And then you can get that student to write a little paragraph to intro that section of the book for you. Yes? Questions? Comments? We okay? So, how do we get some of our students in our books? How do we do interviewing without tokenizing? We have 3 questions here. 3 questions I hope you guys are not using at all. Because why? Why we shouldn't use questions like these? Do people bully you because do you speak good English? Is your culture weird to others? But we know that's the easy question students like to come up with, right? Because they don't have to think too much. But these questions aren't good. They don't give us any depth. They don't give us anything we can feed off of. So we need to change the type of questions that we are asking. What do people misunderstand about your group? Remember, when you're having an interview, it's a conversation. So you're trying not to have your questions close-ended. All the questions before could be answered in 1 word or less, and you get nothing from it. Tell us something you wish teachers knew, and why do you think that knowledge is important? If you had a dedicated page in the yearbook, what would that story look like? Because you know, advisors in the room, students like to say, Miss, I hope I all over the yearbook, I want to be in the front, the middle. Yeah, sure, you can be. You can have an entire page dedicated to you. Once you pay the price for a whole page, you'll get the whole page. So you're able now to translate all of these things into cash revenue. Because at the end of the day, yearbook is our business. We have to pay to get the book printed. Questions from anybody? And again, if it happened on campus, it deserves the possibility of coverage. Clear for everybody so far? Any questions? Everybody's okay? Any questions? All right. The last thing is what is felt. When you are working on the yearbook, I want you to start thinking not like a creator, but like an auditor. So when you're looking at your pages, you're asking, what stories are here? What stories are missing? So you're not just creating random things. You're focusing, you're using that Bacchanal lens to fine tune what is on your page. Who is missing? What stories are missing? How could we have told this story differently? Those are the questions that you're asking. We need to make our yearbook feel like us. If it's not us, whose story are we telling? And for us to do that effectively, we have to build a staff that looks like us. And by that, I mean your school community, your school demographic. So you pick everybody, the neurodivergent, the immigrant, the artist, the musician, the ESL student, the athlete. You pick everybody to be on your team if you have that ability. Because those are the people who decide what's worth remembering. And if your team doesn't reflect your school, we can see how the yearbook is going to be biased. And then people not going to buy it because the first thing they're going to say, I'm not in the yearbook, I'm not there, so why should I buy it? Even if they only have their senior portrait in it. That's just one picture. They'll take a screenshot of that from somebody else's yearbook. But if we find time to include them, include their story, look at them through that Bacchanal lens, it makes our lives a lot easier. So our staff must reflect our school because diverse perspectives are needed. Students should feel safe pitching non-traditional stories. And as we said before, recruit outside of that yearbook bubble. And if it's possible, and you can create a shadow staff from middle school, because some middle schools have a journalism class, and it's easy to just streamline them into the high school, then you'll have them for 4 years. And imagine the things you can accomplish with a 4-year journalism student. That is something I struggle with because every year I'm looking for my students who didn't come back. They have to finish this. They have an ACE course here, there. They change schools. I lose photographers. Every year it's a struggle. So if we could try to streamline that process, it helps us out a lot. Oops. Right, the takeaway from that is journalism is never neutral. Choosing a story is power. Visibility is accuracy, not politics. Recently, we had that whole fracas with ICE, and a lot of students started to stop come to school. Some schools even organized protests to walk. Those are things that could be in your yearbook, but you have to be responsible as to how you report them, because not reporting it is not really journalism, because it's something that happened. But we have to be responsible and ethical in how we choose to report the story. Clear for everybody? Because omitting that is misinformation. That was something that happened at the period in time. So we cannot misinform by omitting. Because if it happened on campus, it deserves the possibility of coverage. So, what are we cleaning up? Sanitized versus real. On that last page, it may be a bit uncomfortable because sometimes we don't like to think about it. But on the last page, second to last page rather, of that Bacchanal Toolkit, we have 3 sections. What are we cleaning up? What are we sanitizing to make our yearbook palatable? By making it palatable, we are erasing ourselves from the story. So we can ask the questions. What are some of the moments we avoid publishing? Why we avoid publishing those things? And how can we cover it more responsibly? That is a question we should always ask. How can we cover it more responsibly? Yes? Avoiding reality does not protect students, it erases them. So we cannot avoid reality, but we can be responsible with the reality that we are given. Yes? Clear for everyone. Questions? Method for success. That's a new word to some of you. Take it with you. You have a copy of the Bacchanal Toolkit that has the Bacchanal Standard. B, broaden coverage, not just the athletes, please. Amplify unheard voices. C, capture micro moments. Another C, center culture. H, humanize stories. A, audit representation. N, normalize authenticity. A, allow student voice. And L, lead with inclusion. And of course, don't forget to have fun while you're creating the yearbook. Is it stressful? Yes. Capturing all these voices, all these stories, all the things that make your school you. But it's worth it in the end because yearbooking deserves to show the people who matter. And you matter. Your friends matter. Everybody in the school, regardless of your population, they all matter. So if we take that Bacchanal standard and the idea of applying that Bacchanal lens to what happens in your school, your yearbooks will be masterpieces.